Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Amber Valley series. There are 35 parishes in this beautiful slice of eastern Derbyshire. Here's one for your viewing pleasure. Welcome back to Amber Valley once again, folks. Now this one is a simple circular walk. I love ones like this. I wish every single village was as easy as this one. And this one's got some impressive landmarks, including part of a castle. Welcome to Mackworth. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Amber Valley this week takes us a step closer to the city of Derby. In fact, it takes us right up to the city boundary because the parish of Mackworth borders it. It's important to note before we cover anything here that the parish of Mackworth only covers the village, not the Mackworth estate, part of the suburb of Mickleover, which it borders to the east. To combat confusion between the two, locals often refer to them both as Mackworth Village and Mackworth Estate. The estate was developed in the 1950s mainly and was one of the largest housing estates to ever be built in Derby. As for the village, that's a different story. Mackworth has escaped for now any major development, but soon this rural idyll on the fringes of the city could be swamped by new housing. More on that at the end of the video. By far the most well-known landmark in this village would be the remains of Mackworth Castle, which stands on Lower Road. Believed to have been built in the 14th or 15th century, Mackworth Castle gives the village a bit of Hollywood-related fame. It was the scene of events that take place in the 1954 movie The Black Shield of Falworth, based on the 19th century historical novel Men of Iron by Howard Pyle. The village also has two pubs, a major commercial vehicle retailer, and a church, the latter of which is in a sorry state right now. There's a story behind that, so let's get moving and explore exactly why. We start on Lower Road outside an old school. This was built in 1860 and was designed by William Mundy. The Mundy name is quite important around here. Once upon a time, Mackworth Parish used to include Mark Eaton. Mark Eaton was the seat of the Mundy family. Among their number was Sir John Mundy, Lord Mayor of London in 1522. They lived at Mark Eaton Hall. Now demolished, its grounds are Mark Eaton Park, which borders Mackworth Parish. Back to the village, as you can probably tell, it's very sparsely populated. Most of it is a designated conservation area. It's another mainly agricultural settlement. Along the length of Lower Road are several farmyards and outbuildings. You know you're in the countryside here. That house there is called the Old Cowshed. Okay, next we have a castle for you, or part of a castle at least. That'll be Mackworth Castle. We're going to make our way up a slight incline again and we'll go and see it. Lower Road starts to climb uphill very slightly now as we approach the western end of the village. The houses are now becoming more sporadically placed, but the numbers carry on. We're interested here mainly in number 59. That's where the remains of Mackworth Castle can be found. Theoretically though, this isn't a castle. Although marked on maps as one, what you're seeing here is its gatehouse. The castle itself is long gone. The gatehouse suggests it was once a grand affair. It was the home of the Mackworth family for several centuries. A definitive date for the castle is hard to pin down. Most believe it was built in the 14th or early 15th centuries. Local legend says that the castle was destroyed during the Civil War by some ordnance on a nearby hill. Not your everyday landmark, that is it, and certainly not your everyday entrance to a drive. I wonder if the people who live there get a little bit fed up of people photographing this. Now, to be fair, it's a public road and you've got every right to. Lower Road turns into Jarby's Lane and bends southwards to meet the A52. That's where we're going. Here we are again on this now familiar main road. Derby is to the left and Kirk Langley is to the right. Very soon, Mackworth will be the base of the Derby Mountain Rescue Team, who currently use an old garage. After raising £407,000 via an appeal, they've bought this plot of land off the A52 for a purpose-built new home. Next up, something for all the truck-loving folk out there. This is the Motus Commercials Depot. You can catch a bus outside their building, the Swift service which connects Derby to Ashbourne and Uttoxeter. Motus is the UK's largest independent commercial vehicle dealer group and the largest DAF truck dealer in the world. They employ some 1,300 people. They've even got a mascot, this colourful ram, which makes sense because we're close to Derby. Next door is Derby West Business Centre, in which is the local mental health charity Derbyshire Mind. After that, the road starts to drop downhill a little bit as we start to enter another residential area. So a varied mix so far. We've had Mackworth Castle and we've had some modern industrial areas. Now let's talk pubs, and Mackworth has two of those. One of them is right behind me. That's the Monday Arms. No prizes for guessing this one. The Monday Arms takes its name from Mark Eaton's local landowning family. The Monday Arms is a chef and brewer pub and it's very popular. Behind the pub is the Tiger Inn, which is a hotel. The charming rosy bricked building dates back to the 1500s, making it one of Mackworth's oldest buildings. There's a second pub not too far away, but before we get there, we've got some other gorgeous properties to pass. Given Mackworth's connection to Mark Eaton, some of these properties would have been estate houses, I would have thought. I would happily live in Mackworth if it wasn't for the noise of the A52. Much like Kirk Langley, it can get quite busy here. Here's the second pub. This is the Farmhouse, which was exactly that. It was formerly an 18th century farmhouse. As well as a pub, it's also a hotel too, with 10 bedrooms, and it has something called the Folly, which is licensed to host weddings. And once beyond the pub, there's a couple more isolated houses before the road starts to taper off towards Derby. Now, once you get beyond the pubs, you're then faced with this on your left-hand side. There's a very earthworky field. You can see the lumps and bumps here. I wonder what used to stand there. There was nothing on Historic England about that before I came here, so no idea at all what that could be. Probably some kind of medieval settlement, or maybe even part of the castle, who knows. But one thing's for sure, one thing that definitely does still stand is the church. You can see the spire of it just there in the distance. We've got to go round here. We've got to take a left turn. There's a sign which says All Saints Church, which you can see just here. So we're going to turn left there, head down towards the church next. Mackworth Church, dedicated to All Saints, stands away from the main village off a bend in the road. It's shared between Mackworth and Mark Eaton, and inside it has some memorials to the Mundy family. Well, who else? It dates from the 14th century and was restored in the 19th and reopened by the Bishop of Lichfield in 1851. On my approach to the church, it became increasingly clear that this wasn't going to be a normal visit to a churchyard. On the evening of the 3rd of December 2020, a fire, which was later discovered to be an arson attack, destroyed its interior. The arsonist also burned down St Mary's Catholic School in Darley Abbey and Ravensdale School in Mickleover. As you can see, the church is currently undergoing some restoration again, and large parts of it are inaccessible. Well, it's good that you can still get into the churchyard, but of course getting up close and personal with the church is a little bit impossible with all these works going on. I wouldn't want to get too close anyway, in case of falling masonry. You wouldn't want that landing on your head, would you? So let's make our way out of here. Here's the lit gate, by the way. And we will head back to where we began. From here, it's a simple case really of just walking straight back down the road to where I began near the castle. So yeah, nice little place is Mackworth. However, we're not quite done with this episode yet, because within Mackworth's boundaries there's a lot of agricultural land, and some of that will soon be turned into housing. Part of it has already been turned into housing. It's an area known as Langley Country Park, and I'm going to take a drive around that and show you exactly what they've built. So here we go around the Langley Country Park estate, which is off Radbourne Road, right on the parish and district boundary with Derby. This sought-after development is built around a central park and features 2, 3 and 4 bedroom homes. Despite being closer to Derby, the estate is within the catchment area for Ecclesbourne School in Duffield. In all, it's a solid block of new builds, one that offers a semi-rural feel without being way out in the sticks. Langley Country Park is relatively small in the grand scheme of things, but very soon, if plans are to be fulfilled, this estate won't be the only one around here. The idea is to build a huge housing estate to the north of Langley Country Park, stretching up to Mackworth Village. When built, it will provide another 550 homes on top of what's already here. As you might expect, it's been met with criticism from the locals, who say they would rather the fields were left untouched. Despite that, the plans do show a large amount of the site would be left as open space. When the initial plans for the new estate were approved, the site was said to be 40% open space, which will be maintained by a management company formed between locals and the developers, something residents of the new site would be expected to pay for. Whatever the case, Langley Country Park is going nowhere. Here's its shop, by the way, a branch of the Co-op on Samuel Road, which is named after Samuel Richardson. In fact, almost all the streets on Langley Country Park refer in some way to him. Samuel Road and Richardson Way are obvious, but how about Clarissa Close or Parsons Green? Let me explain. Samuel Richardson was an English writer considered by many to be the father of the English novel. He was believed to have been born in Mackworth in 1689, but nobody knows that for certain, as his father, Samuel Richardson Sr., always kept the location of his birth a secret. He was known for 3 main novels: Pamela or Virtue Rewarded in 1740, Clarissa or The History of a Young Lady in 1748, and The History of Sir Charles Grandison in 1753. In total, he printed almost 500 works, including journals and magazines, working periodically with the London bookseller Andrew Miller. His acquaintances also included Samuel Johnson, Sarah Fielding, George Chain, and fellow writer William Law. He died at the age of 71 in Parsons Green in London. And perhaps the biggest landmark in Langley Country Park is something that was here a long time before all these houses and all the other developments were. And that is this water tower, which you can actually see from Mackworth village as well. There are places around the village where you can get a glimpse of this, but this is where you'll find it. I'm not sure if you can actually walk to it through these trees. I don't want to be honest with you, because it could well be trespassing onto private land, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, there's the water tower, a massive landmark here in Langley Country Park. Okay, so that's been Mackworth Village. I do hope you have enjoyed it. To finish this one off, we're driving on Radbourne Road now, heading north back towards Mackworth Village. Mackworth Estate is to our right here and not within the boundaries. Next week we'll be in a place that's on a hilltop, where the water tower that we've just seen is visible on the horizon. See you later, folks. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.